Yesterday, two key impeachment witnesses tied President Trump and Rudy Giuliani directly to the quid pro quo with Ukraine. And today we saw more fallout from that bombshell. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Yesterday, we learned damning new facts about the president's direct involvement in a scheme to extort Ukraine to get them to manufacture dirt on his political opponents. And yet today, a few pundits and reporters dismissed the first day of impeachment hearings, which included bombshell new testimony tying Trump directly to the scheme, calling them boring. One wrote that unlike the best reality TV shows, not to mention the Trump presidency itself, fireworks and explosive moments were scarce. And another wrote that the first two witnesses called Wednesday testified to Trump's scheme, but lacked the pizzazz necessary to capture public attention. What do you mean it lacked pizzazz? The only politicians who have ever been entertaining were the ones in Hamilton. What do you want them to do, show up with their own backup dancers like they're in a chorus line? Or better yet, maybe chairman of the committee, Adam Schiff, and the rest of the Democrats can interpret the hearings through the music of cats. Ambassador, do jellicles engage in quid pro quo? Congressman, all I can say is jellicles can and jellicles do. But the people who were especially invested in writing off the impeachment hearings as a media spectacle were, of course, Trump's defender in the Republican Party, and on Fox News, to dismiss the entire thing as a fake scandal invented by Democrats for TV.
What we will witness today is a televised theatrical performance staged by the Democrats. It seems you agreed, witting or unwittingly, to participate in a drama.
Well, the Democrats' TV show on impeachment starts tomorrow morning.
We read the transcript from behind closed doors. It's almost like the pregame show. Then all these people fall into place as if it was a Hollywood script.
This is a television show. It's all about trying to create some kind of environment and to create a spectacle. Adam Schiff loves television cameras. I've never seen anyone who would risk his life to jump in front of one like he does.
You think Schiff would risk his life to jump in front of a camera? Donald Trump is always on TV. If Trump saw a camera on the other side of a canyon, he'd strap himself to a rocket like Wile E. Coyote. Now, you might remember that before the public hearing started, Republicans complained about the rules, claiming that because Democrats were holding private, closed-door depositions, the process was somehow illegitimate. Well, Republicans got their wish, and Democrats held their first public impeachment hearing yesterday. And then Republicans were completely satisfied, and they accepted the process and never complained again.
Well, they shouldn't be having public hearings. This is a hoax.
So now you don't want public hearings either? Then what do you want? Because it's either public or private. You got to pick one. You can't treat impeachment hearings like a rookie cop defusing a bomb. Cut the red wire? No, the blue wire. No, it's the red wire. Wait, I got an idea. Rudy, come sit on this bomb. But now we very much are having public hearings, and we learned something damning from the first hearing yesterday. One of the witnesses, Ambassador Bill Taylor, revealed that a staffer had overheard Trump talking on the phone with one of his key henchmen, a guy named Gordon Sondland, about the quid pro quo with Ukraine.
Taylor said a staffer of his recently told him about this conversation involving the president and the Trump donor turned ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland.
In the presence of my staff at a restaurant, Ambassador Sondland called President Trump and told him of his meetings in Kyiv. The member of my staff could hear President Trump on the phone asking Ambassador Sondland about the investigations.
This was a cell phone, I take it?
It was a cell phone.
The president must have been speaking loud enough for your staff member to be able to overhear this?
It was.
That's right. Trump was so loud, people overheard him on the other end of the call. I'm shocked he didn't just go all the way and take the call while he was on national TV. There was nothing illegal. Oh, hold on, let me take this. Oh, good, yeah. The extortion? Great. And the bribery? That's fantastic. Should we throw another crime in there? Maybe like fraud? All right, fantastic. All right, gotta go press conference. And then today, the AP reported that a second U.S. official had also heard Trump's call with Sondland, and yet when Trump was asked yesterday about that phone call, he pretended he didn't know anything about it.
There was one moment where Ambassador Bill Taylor recounted a conversation that an aide of his overheard, in which the aide says that he overheard you say to Sondland, how are things going with proceeding with the investigations? Is that correct? And can you fill in some more?
I know nothing about that. First time I've heard it.
Do you recall having a conversation with Sondland?
I don't recall. No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
Oh, not even a little bit. You know, Trump is lying when he goes overboard like that. It's like if you ask someone, did you rob that bank? Most people would say, of course not. Trump would say, I've never even been inside a bank. I keep all my money stuffed inside my coat. That's why it always looks like that. Just my fortune packed in. And yet, even as Republicans pretended to complain about the supposed media spectacle of impeachment hearings, they were looking to get in on the act themselves. In fact, this week, CNN reported that Rudy Giuliani is considering re-entering the impeachment fray by launching a podcast to provide impeachment analysis of the public hearings in the House of Representatives. Okay, first of all, you can't do a podcast on impeachment hearings when you're a key figure in those hearings. That would be like a murderer hosting an episode of Dateline. Tonight, I try to track down my wife's killer, and I try to get away. Also, you can't do a crime podcast about an open and shut case. There's nothing to investigate. This whole thing would make for the shortest episode of Serial in history. Hello, I'm Sarah Koenig. On this episode, my guest is Rudy Giuliani. Rudy, did you do it?
Of course I did.
This has been Serial. Although personally, I have to say the weirdest thing about this Rudy podcast story for us is that we accidentally predicted it a few months ago when we first covered Rudy's attempts to dig up dirt on Joe Biden back in May. The best thing about Rudy is he just admits everything. We probably wouldn't have needed the Mueller report if we had just given Rudy a podcast. Oh my God, we're in Rudy's head, you guys. It's like in a movie when the FBI agent has to start thinking like the killer. In fact, to predict Rudy's next move, I've been doing the same thing he does, smoking cigars, reading my iPad, and sitting on my own balls. But you know, I bet Rudy doing a podcast would really help Trump, because if there's one thing you can say about Rudy, it's that he always makes a convincing argument.
We got an anonymous whistleblower who says that Donald Trump did something wrong. Donald Trump, like Hunter Biden, says, I didn't do anything wrong. This all should have stopped when President Trump said, I didn't do anything wrong.
Is that when it should have stopped? When Trump said so? That argument only works with 5-year-olds. Clean your room. Why? Because I said so. Damn it, you got me! Seriously, is that your argument? I have a hard time believing Rudy has ever actually tried a case in a courtroom. Your Honor, my client says he didn't do it, so I think we can all go home now. And on your way home, check out my new podcast, My Client Did It, and here's how. So the first day of the impeachment hearings directly tied both Trump and Rudy to the Ukraine scheme, which underscores yet again that Rudy is a central figure in this whole thing. In fact, 2 of his associates who helped him dig up dirt in Ukraine have already been arrested. Remember those 2 guys? Lev and Igor? Those are their real names, although it's possible to keep track of which one is which. They look like they played the burglars in the Ukrainian remake of Home Alone. Well, we found out this week that Trump had at least 10 separate interactions with these guys, which means Trump was lying when he said he had no idea who they were when they were first arrested last month.
Sir, what conversations have you had with Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman?
I don't know those gentlemen.
Oh, you don't know those gentlemen? Whenever an idiot like Trump suddenly reverts to 18th century diction, you know he's nervous. It's as if your wife confronted you about an affair and you were like, Janice, why, I never had the pleasure of making that gentle lady's acquaintance. Despite what you might hear from some in the media, yesterday's impeachment hearing provided damning new evidence, making clear that Trump and Rudy were both directly involved in the Ukraine scheme. Everyone should watch these hearings because they make clear, without a doubt, that Trump and Rudy are not innocent.
Not even a little bit.
This has been A Closer Look.